Hello, readers. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, you probably are. I have 2 subscribers, but today we're going to be reviewing The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. So let's get into it. So, a few of the other social medias that I have, this was not going to be on my TBR anytime soon. I did get it for Christmas, and I've been planning to read Hemingway and get through the classics, but I'm actually doing my capstone class. My research paper will be on The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway. So I thought I'd be a good student and I'd read it. And needless to say, I enjoyed this one. It wasn't like my favorite thing I've ever read, but I've also read some Hemingway short stories in the past. And I think I end up enjoying those more than this longer edition of his work. But so yeah, let's get into the review segment of this video. Okay, so generally I like to keep these videos spoiler free. And by these videos, I mean I only have 2 videos on my channel. The type spoiler free plot summary of The Sun Also Rises is we have a large cast of dudes being guys. They're all alcoholics. But post World War One, they come home, you know, landscape, society has changed, uh, preceding the First World War. And through the perspective of the main character, who's a journalist, Jake Barnes, who also suffers from depression for sure, but I don't know if that mental health diagnosis existed back then. But through his sort of world weary perspective, we get told a very, uh, I would say, harrowing story about his journey and learning how he can come to terms with the new world that he's found and how he can sort of live in that. Um, there's romance, there's bullfighting, um, but I don't think it's going to be the plot that's going to keep you invested in the story, and we're going to get into that in the next segment, which is characters. If you're one of those weird readers who like enjoys good characters, or like character driven works, I would definitely. I think that's one of the strong suits of this novel by Hemingway is the characters. As I mentioned in the last segment, the main character is definitely compelling, and the arc that he fulfills near the end is definitely one worth experiencing. Less, there's not as I wouldn't say these characters are really 3 dimensional, 4 dimensional, but I think they play archetypes that they are supposed to well, and those archetypes are traditional masculinity, and by that I mean um, the idea of traditional masculinity and its importance is talked a lot in this book through the characters, how they react, maneuver in the world. And so, if that kind of thing interests you, I think that you might really enjoy this one. And I think one interesting thing I found and that people talk about online is that the most traditionally, in the traditional sense, masculine person in this book is the only female character that all the men are in love with. And so I think that's also an interesting dynamic to look at how what Hemingway says by structuring his story that way. For the setting of this book, like previously mentioned, it's post World War One, so like 1920s around there. The story starts in Paris, France. That's where the main character Jake Barnes does his newspaper work at. Then the story shifts later in later arcs to Spain. So France and Spain is where we spend most of the time in these books. There's a lot of um, set pieces, I would call them, that are really nice, and Hemingway does a good job of writing about fishing for about 30 pages, and I'm invested the whole time. I think sometimes this book struggles with imagery and getting you into the scene, and other times it does a really good job. So it's really streaky there, but inconsistent. But when he does go take the effort to describe the surroundings to you, uh, it pays off. It definitely does. And I probably wish he would have incorporated that more in the book. It'd be hard to mention or do any type of review on a Hemingway story, novel, short story without talking about his writing style. Very choppy and blocky at times, but I think the dialogue actually is pretty well. I really like his dialogue. it's definitely not like a flowery style, I would say, with like semicolons and other um, things that could sort of elongate a sentence. It's very short and choppy, but I think there is sort of a beauty in it and how he sets it up, and I think it makes it a relatively easy read. And yeah, so let's get into the official Bookman review. Okay, so I know in the last clip I said official Bookman review, but I meant rating. And so my official Bookman 445 rating for The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway will have to be 3.08 bullfighters out of 5. I think there's a lot. I don't think is going to knock you off your feet necessarily, but I think for the right audience or anybody that's interested in the things I mentioned before, I think you'll really enjoy it. For those who it might not, I still think there's a lot that you can take away from this book and it'd be an enjoyable reading experience. So, yeah, that'll conclude the video today. I'm reading the sixth book in Wheel of Time, Lord of Chaos. That video should be out next, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.